Mr. President.
The senator from Minnesota.
Thank you, Mr. President. This weekend, driving around the Twin Cities, I was listening to public radio. The host of the program introduced a Republican member of the House Budget Committee. The member, who I will not name to spare him or her a great deal of embarrassment, was asked about the consequences of not raising the debt ceiling. The member assured the host and listeners that failing to raise the debt ceiling would not create a default for a number of reasons. Among them was that, according to this member, that we can pay out all the Social Security checks to seniors because, and I quote, "the money is in the trust fund." Well, of course, there are $2.6 trillion of assets in the trust fund, but the Social Security Trust Fund is composed entirely of Treasury notes. Allow me to quote from the Congressional Research Service. Quote, "By law, Social Security revenues credited to the trust fund are invested in non-marketable U.S. government obligations. These obligations are physical paper documents issued to the trust fund and held by the Social Security Administration. When the obligations are redeemed, the Treasury must issue a check, a physical document, to the Social Security Trust Fund for the interest earned on the obligations." CRS continues. However, unlike a private trust that may hold a variety of assets and obligations of different borrowers, the Social Security Trust Fund can hold only non-marketable U.S. government obligations. The sale of these obligations by the U.S. government to the Social Security Trust Fund is federal government borrowing from itself and counts against the federal debt limit. Now, I have no idea what this Republican member of the House Budget Committee believes is in the Social Security Trust Fund. Stacks of $100 bills, gold bricks, warehouses of freezers with steaks in them. To me, it is shocking that a member of Congress, let alone a member of the House Budget Committee, can be so wildly ignorant of the basic workings of our government. We come here to Washington to work together to solve our nation's problems. How are we to do that if members are unwilling or unable to come to even the most rudimentary understanding of our government? None of us is immune to making mistakes. And yet we find ourselves in this moment of existential crisis with the full faith and credit of the United States being held hostage by a menagerie of ideologues who invent their own realities and are only too happy to share these fantasies with an unsuspecting public. We are playing with disaster here. Can we please just stick to the facts? And the fact is, if we don't act immediately, we will see a downgrade of our credit rating and possibly even default on our debt. Both would be entirely counterproductive to our goal of shrinking our deficits and growing our economy. We cannot control the fantasies of clueless ideologues. But we must act responsibly and do our jobs, and we must do it now. Thank you, Mr. President. I note the absence